There he is.
Never mind, we'll get to it later.
I was going to say, give us some good news. I don't know if we got good news.
No, this is not
yet.
going to be the good news.
Fletch, how we been, dude?
Good. I'm sorry I'm late. It's been a busy day. I was at the Mikie Loomis presser, at the Dessert Classic, checking out Rory McIlroy. So a busy week in New Orleans. Joe Dumars got introduced yesterday. So I'm going to the good light. I'm sorry.
No, you look good.
Get behind the green screen.
The BTS behind the scenes.
I'm trying to make it look good. I know y'all are big time and have big time people now. You got like coaches, and leaguers and everything. I feel like, having a little somebody like me, I may as well try to make it look good under the studio lights here.
You always
spilled some crap on my shirt.
Oh, look, that's great. You always look good. Wait, look, it doesn't matter. You're in New Orleans. You're supposed to have some little crumbs on your shirt. That just happens. It's part of the culture of New Orleans. A lot of good food. A lot of sloppy food sometimes. That happens. Part of it. Big weekend, as you mentioned, in New Orleans, but I want to talk about the Saints for just a little bit. You're at the Loomis presser. A lot of people are I don't want to say they're all over Mikie Loomis over the last few years. The Saints haven't played up to par. They didn't like the hire of, some coaches. They don't like Derek Carr, all these types of things. It didn't feel like Mikie Loomis in his presser gave many answers and really answered any of those concerns that the Saints fans have. Kind of avoided the Derek Carr stuff, which is kind of bizarre to me. Can you give us some insight on your takeaways from the presser and the whole Derek Carr debacle?
Yeah, look, I like Mikie. I think people in the building like Mikie. I think Mikie is obviously a well-respected executive in the league. But the press conference today was awful. It was a total waste of time. It was awful. And I don't know how else to say it. It's just in the Derek Carr situation is embarrassing. So look, win or lose, the Saints through and through their DNA, with Gail Benson as the owner, Mikie Loomis as the top executive, feel like we operate in a way that is classy and elegant. She's very involved in the community. She charitable giving. Mikie does things the right way. He's got a really strong Jeff Ireland, Kai Harley, good scouts. What they do, even if they don't have success, people don't say, boy, that's kind of an embarrassing disaster over there, or they're a dumpster fire. Again, wins and losses are all that matters. But that being said, how they operate is always professional, classy, well regarded. This is not that. I think, in my opinion, I think Mikie and the people in that building would like to curse at Derek Carr, scream at him. He is infuriating them. He is embarrassing them. And they're paying him $40 million. They paid him to show up, be a professional, do his job. And even if he's not part of their future, they need him to be part of the present. And he has decided he's not going to be a part of that. That's just not what he's going to do. Derek I'm not part of the future, so do I need to be a part of the present? And I think he's checked out on New Orleans. I think he wanted to be released or traded. It didn't happen. So they are at a real inflection point right now. And I don't know where it ends. I am of the school of thought that Derek Carr will never play here again and can't play here again. There are some people that tell me they can still mend the fences. It's in his best interest to play and have a great season. And maybe they can win 8 or 9 games. And if a young quarterback takes over next year, the ecosystem of success is maybe there. I don't know if I believe that. But today, because Mikie Loomis probably doesn't want to nuke the entire situation,
right?
He looked awful simply by saying, I don't want to talk about that. I have no comment on that. I can't say anything on that.
I'm here to talk about the draft.
It made him look weak. Right, we're here to talk about the draft. Well, if you don't have a quarterback, you need to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, right.
They kind of go hand in hand. So it's one of those things. You have to talk about Derek Carr to talk about what they're going to do at quarterback. So again, it just, like I said, it made him look weak, and he shouldn't, because he's the longest tenured general manager in the league. It made the organization look dysfunctional. It's just a bad spot right now. Look, I've been here. This is my 23rd year at WDSU. The Pelicans are coming off their worst year in 20 years since 04-05 when they drafted Chris Paul. The Saints are coming off their worst season in 20 years, the Katrina year of 3-13. Pro sports right now in New Orleans are on the field, on the court in a bad spot right now. That doesn't mean they can't fix it quick, but right now, you know, they're going to get ridiculed and laughed at and second guessed until they get back to some semblance of respectability and winning.
With all that, the draft Thursday, tomorrow, do the Saints draft a quarterback at 9? Do they trade up? There's rumors that they're going up to 2. There's rumors that they're going to stay put and that they're not going to draft a quarterback and they're going to go defensive tackle, defensive end, and then go back and trade back in. What is your feeling on this? Peter Schrager, who I think out of all the analysts usually has a pretty good mock draft. He only releases one, and he released it, I think, yesterday. He has the Saints taking the defensive end, I think, out of Georgia.
Yeah, Michael Williams.
Yes. What's your feeling? What's your gut? What are you hearing around the organization?
So, my personal opinion is that they should draft Jackson Dart and make the quarterback from Ole Miss the first quarterback that the Saints have taken in 54 years in the first round. The Saints, and I'm sure y'all have talked about this or said it, you know, the Saints, it's the longest drought in NFL history without selecting a quarterback in the first round. The last quarterback the Saints took in the first round was Archie Manning in 1971.
Right.
So I think it's time for Mickey Loomis to get Kellen Moore his guy.
Yep.
And I understand, like, maybe this isn't the greatest quarterback draft, but last year, most people would have said Michael Penix isn't a top 20 pick. Bo Nix isn't a top 20 pick. They questioned J.J. McCarthy. You got to have conviction at the quarterback position. You got to find a guy and fall in love with him and have conviction. Look, I went back and did this huge study. Patrick Mahomes was the 57th prospect in 2017. He played 3 snaps under center. He didn't have a winning record in college. People questioned the gimmick offense of Texas Tech, but Andy Reid had conviction, and it's worked out nicely for them. Sean Payton had conviction with Bo Nix. I mean, look, Josh Allen went 7th overall. He was the 3rd quarterback taken in 2018. And you look at that and you say, okay, people were talking about at Wyoming, he had a terrible completion percentage. He's a turnover machine. They had conviction. They took him. He's the MVP of the league now. Again, I'm not saying you have to do it, but there's never going to be a perfect year. There's never a perfect prospect. So you can't just wait and say, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about this guy. You got to just take a leap of faith. I hope they take the leap of faith with Jackson Dart. That being said, the Saints decision makers who have been here for the last 5 or 7 years, maybe 9 years now, Jeff Ireland got here in 2016. So since 2016, the Saints have taken an offensive or a defensive lineman in the first or second round. Some years they didn't have a first-round draft pick like in 2018, but Eric McCoy was their second-round draft pick. With their top picks, either in the first or second round, they have drafted offensive and defensive linemen. They just believe in it. Now, they've had massive misses. I mean, Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, Trevor Penning, Isaiah Foskey in the second round. But they believe in drafting the measurables. Size, speed. They think in the first round, you take your swing on things you can't teach. And if we teach it and we hit big. And I understand that you all play baseball. You go for the 5-tool prospect because if it all comes together, you're going to have the next great star. Unfortunately, the Saints have just missed on a lot of those guys recently. But them picking an offensive or a defensive lineman sounds par for the course. So I saw Schrager's mock draft, and it's defensive end out of Georgia who's got a ton of potential.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Saints pick, you know?
Yeah. Jared.
I'm glad you brought this thing back to quarterback because I got like a multifaceted question. The Derek Carr situation, is this the most or one of the most like bizarre / embarrassing situations you've ever seen in the league or in your time covering New Orleans Saints football? That's one. And then 2, interesting you say Jackson Dart because he's not really right now as the consensus number 2 on the board. So with the Saints where they are, Do you think they can trade back and still get him? Do you think they take him at that spot? And why do you like him over Shedeur Sanders?
So I like Jackson Dart. I covered that game last year in Baton Rouge, and I saw him and Dustmeyer like gunslingers throwing it around. Some good, some real bad. But I for some reason, I'm just, and look, I'm not going to, y'all play baseball at the highest levels. I'm not going to sit here and act like I played football or I know. But I've watched a lot of football. I like Jackson Dart. I like the way he throws. I like the way the ball comes out of his hand. I like the fact that he's got a little dual threat ability. I like the intangibles. I got a lot of people that I know close to the Ole Miss program that tell me he's off the charts as a competitor, as a worker. And I talked to Archie Manning during the Super Bowl. We did a big sit down. And Archie goes, what I love about him is he got better every single year. Now, he didn't get better like Joe Burrow got better, going from 16 touchdowns to 60. But if you look at his progression, he got better every single year. Everybody in the world we live in now, it's got to be instantaneous. Yeah. You're either awesome or you're a failure. Whereas he wasn't like that. He was the guy who got better. And I think there's enough ability for Kellen Moore to work with. And I think that matters. Finding that synergy. Breeze and Peyton found that synergy. Brady and Belichick found that synergy. The coach and the quarterback have to have it. And I just think there's something about Jackson Dart that resonates with Kellen Moore. But to answer your question, I don't know if they don't take him at 9, I don't know if they get back into the first round to get him, because Pittsburgh's picking at 21. The Giants and the Browns both have the first picks of the second round. So if they want to get back in, it's going to be easier for them to jump the Saints to get in. I think the Saints can get a quarterback, but I just feel like if you love somebody, then just go get him at 9. Like that's what my belief, and it may be different than others, is people say trade down and get that guy. We're talking about the most important position on the field. So don't wait and let somebody else leapfrog you or jump you. Just take your guy at 9, and if he's a franchise quarterback, then you'll be laughing just like Andy Reid laughed. There were people who mocked the Patrick Mahomes pick, saying that he was a late first, early second round guy, and they went all the way up to 10 to get him. Again, if he's your guy, he's your guy. Don't hedge and say, I'm taking him at 9, and we're going to come back if he's still there and get him. I just don't love that school of thought. But we'll see what happens. I think it's on the table. I think they feel like maybe there's a great player in the top 10. Like maybe if Will Campbell falls to 9, of course he has to be your pick. If Ashton Genty falls to 9, of course he has to be your pick. Like I think there's probably 5 difference maker studs in this draft. And if one of those guys gets to 9, the choice is easy for the Saints. But if like a lot of people think, if it's Ward 1, in Hunter 2, in Abdul Carter 3, in Will Campbell 4, in Genty 5, in Ted McMillan 6. If all these elite prospects are off the board at 9, and you're picking between the 3rd offensive tackle or the 3rd defensive end, then maybe just take your quarterback at 9 and don't worry about trading back in and leapfrogging teams and all that.
Do you think they trade up?
I don't know if they trade up, because I don't know who they. I guess they could be going up for Travis Hunter or to get Ashton Genty or to get Will Campbell. Like I'm not sure who they look at and say the Saints. The Saints have had, technically, depending on certain metrics, the worst drafts since 2018. This is a stat for you. The Saints have drafted the fewest Pro Bowl players since 2018. They have drafted 1 Pro Bowl player since 2018. That is Eric McCoy at center. Wow. Since the amazing draft of 2017 that produced Lattimore and Ramczyk and Marcus Williams and Alvin Kamara and Trey Hendrickson and Alex Anzalone. Everybody's a starter or a Pro Bowler from that draft, even if they're not with the Saints anymore. Since 2018, the Saints have drafted, that's still on the team because Zach Bond made the Pro Bowl, but he's not here. Eric McCoy. So I think they got 6 picks in the top 4 rounds. I think they need to utilize those picks and hit and get some guys. I don't know about giving up a second this year and a first next year, or a third and a fourth this year and a first next year to get up to get who?
Right.
To get Travis Hunter, to get Will Campbell, maybe look, Mickey Loomis goes up, they're aggressive. So if they're going up, I'm curious to see who they're going up for. I think they would love to. I know they inquired about going up to 1 to get Cam Ward, but were rebuffed. And I think the price was probably insane. But I don't know who else they go up for, right now. If they went up, I'd just be curious, Mikey, to see who they'd be going up for.
Do you think they'd trade back into the first round? You've seen the Saints do that often, like you said, very aggressive in what they do. Obviously, when it's led by Mickey Loomis and Doug Ireland, or not Doug Ireland, what's his name? Jeff Ireland.
Yeah, Jeff.
Excuse me, Doug Ireland, Northwestern State. big guy. They've obviously moved up before. I could see them moving up back into the first round to get a quarterback. Or, you said, haven't taken a quarterback since Archie Manning. Do you think that they wait a year and bring this thing full circle?
So thank you for that question. But first, I can see them moving back in. Yes, I think that probably seems like, with Loomis and Jeff Ireland, that seems like the likely scenario. They did that in 2011. They drafted Cam Jordan, and they came back in and got Mark Ingram. And 3 years ago, a couple weeks before the draft, they drafted Chris Olave, and they had acquired a second pick that year because they felt like the depth was so great, and they got Trevor Penning, which looks terrible now. But they've done that.
We're not going to re-sign Trevor Penning. We love him, though.
Right. So, but to answer your question, that is, I think, a likely scenario is draft somebody they think is a stud. We can't teach this. This guy's got, his mommy and daddy blessed him with things we can't teach. The height, the weight, the speed. Again, that's who I think they're going to go with at 9. Armand Membu from Missouri. He was okay in college, but he tests off the charts. That's the Saints dude. And so, get him at 9 and then try to come back in and get Dart or Tyler Shuck or Jalen Milroe or whoever their quarterback is at the back end of the first round. And if that costs you your second and maybe the Saints do have 2/3 and 2/4. I looked at the value chart, and the Commanders are picking 29. For the Commanders to go for the Saints to go from 40 to 29, it would cost them 40 and 71. And so they could give the Commanders back their third-round draft pick that they got in the Lattimore deal, and the Commanders would take a second. And so that's something that I think they absolutely, positively would do. And this is what I tell everybody about the second part of your question about Arch Manning. Look, I grew up, Cooper Manning is a year older than me. Peyton Manning is a year younger than me. I've known the Mannings a long time. I'm not going to act like we're best friends, but we are
You're
friends.
The fourth Manning.
Huh?
You're the fourth Manning.
I wish I had that money, especially the royalties. The royalties rolling in from the commercials and everything. I can only imagine. Just cut me off a chunk of that. And so, but here's the thing. The Mannings don't skip steps. Peyton Manning, Bill Parcells said, he was the coach of the Jets. The Jets had the number 1 pick. He goes, the Manning kid comes out, we're taking him. Peyton went back for his senior year. He was still the number 1 overall pick for the Colts. Eli was a 4th-year senior, was a projected first-rounder, went back to Ole Miss for his 5th year, number 1 overall pick in the draft. I feel like Arch has started 2 games. The only way I could see him coming out after 1 year of experience, because for them it's not about cashing in right away. For them, it's about, is he ready to be an NFL quarterback? And they're going to want him to get starts and to be ready to have success, not just to say he's an NFL player in great whoop-de-doo. They want him to be a great NFL player. So the only way I could see Arch coming out is if Texas wins the national championship and he's a Heisman finalist, which could happen. But I still think more than likely Arch does 2 years at Texas and he's not going to be around until the 27 draft.
Garrett Nussmeier.
I love Garrett Nussmeier.
Me too.
His dad's the OC.
Yeah.
I love, if Garrett Nussmeier had come out this year, I think he would be where Jackson Dart is right now. Look, I think he's got a better arm than Jackson Dart. but Jackson Dart is more athletic. But they remind me a lot of each other. Guys that love football, guys that have a tremendous upside, guys that were raised around the game. Like, I love Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the reasons why I like Jackson Dart. But I think, yeah, if the Saints don't take a quarterback this year, trust me, the conversations of bring the Nuss bus down here to NOLA and let him saddle up with his dad as the OC are going to probably be prevalent.
That'd be amazing. Jared, you got one?
Well, wait, time out. So if that ends up being the case and they don't take a quarterback at all this year, is there a path of resolution with the Derek Carr situation? Like, can that be resolved?
I think it can, and I think it's because of what Mikie Loomis, he didn't go atomic today or nuclear today. Like, he handled it, even though a lot of people are going to kick him in the teeth for this, like Mikie didn't say anything. It came across as just kind of JV and amateurish. Like, this is a polished executive, and it was horrible. But he didn't nuke the relationship. And Derek Carr hasn't been posting cryptic, idiotic crap like some people do on social media.
No, his brother does that.
Sure, but he's just done radio silence. So I do think if they want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and reconcile this, they can. Do I think they will? No, but I do think, Jared, they could. But here's the thing. If the Saints don't have a quarterback by the time the draft ends on Friday night, like, I'll give them a pass if they don't draft one in the first round. But if they don't get Jalen Milroe in the second round or Dylan Gabriel in the third round, if the draft closes on Friday night and we're entering day 3, I'm going to have a meltdown. And I think that people need to prepare for Spencer Rattler in like a 3-14 season here in New Orleans.
Hell yeah.
Nice. That's what I love to hear. Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
3-14
Let's send
season.
Cam Jordan off into the sunset just the way he imagined. Tyrann Mathieu into the sunset just the way he imagined. Alvin Kamara, thanks for re-signing. Here's 3-14.
But I do agree.
But let me say this. Look, just to follow up, and I know I talk a lot, I really think what the Saints wanted to do was to thread the needle this year. They've got a lot of guys on contracts that they couldn't get out of this year. So I think their goal was draft a young quarterback, let Carr start this year. Look, 2 years ago they went 9-8. This division still sucks, so they can win it. Like, you put a healthy team out there, they can go 9-8 like the Bucs and maybe win this division, and then the young quarterback can come into a system that is maybe more prevalent for winning. That's what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
They had Alex Smith. They went to the playoff Alex Smiths last year, and then they told Alex Smith, see you later. Patrick Mahomes is taking over. They wanted to win this year for what you're saying, Lloyd. Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, Tyrann Mathieu. The last leg, let's milk this core one last year for all we've got. And if we get hot in the playoffs, maybe we can make a little bit of a run and everybody gets back on board and we enter a new chapter next year with the young quarterback. Derek Carr has decided to say, not for me. Probably not going to be a part of that. And so now they're either going to start a rookie or reconcile with Carr, which I don't think is going to happen, or start Spencer Rattler, which to me sounds starting Spencer Rattler, even with a healthy team, sounds like a recipe for like $15 tickets in the terrace. So, yeah.
Not great. That would not be great. But I'm in the camp with you. I think that, you mentioned earlier they have a bunch of picks and they have some pretty high level picks, and they need to kind of rejuvenize their roster. And I like the fact that they're able to take those picks and they have the amount of picks they have early on.
9 picks.
And just say, hey, let's not miss on these. Let's get some guys and get some guys on here that can play for cheaper, because we haven't had that in a long time where you've had guys on the roster where they're actually good and don't cost you everything. And I'm kind of in that camp.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. They hit. Jeff Ireland got here as the assistant GM in 2016. They drafted Sheldon Rankins, Michael Thomas. It was a good draft. 2017, he knocked it out the park. He has found they do a nice job of finding solid starters. Like rounds 2 through 5, they crush it. Jeff Ireland crushes it.
Right.
He finds NFL players. I mean, you can go through from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to, Alante to Paulson Adebo. I mean, their roster is littered with starters that they have found. Pete Werner,
Kamara.
Right, Kamara. Well, this is after 2017. So the 2017 draft was, again, it's one of the greatest drafts. It's one of the 5 greatest drafts in NFL history. But after that, since 2018, they've had a lot of first-round misses, but they found a lot of starters in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so you're right. They've got to get it right this time, though, in rounds 1, 2, and 3 in a big-time way. You've got 4 picks in the top 100 picks. Like, those 4 players in the top 100, you've got to drill it. And I know it's easier said than done, but you've got to do it. I know y'all are LSU people, so here's the comparison. And I'm not trying to cap on anybody here, but this is going to come across that way. Remember, when Les Miles was the coach here and kind of the beginning of those Ogeron days, they just could never find quarterbacks at LSU.
Yeah.
It was like, how could we not get quarterbacks? To me, Spencer Rattler starting at quarterback for the Saints in the NFL is like Andrew Hatch, the kid from Harvard, starting in the SEC.
Hey, now.
Look, I'm just saying, I'm sure he's a good dude.
Yeah.
And he gave it his all. But, he didn't belong in the SEC. Spencer Rattler, to me, doesn't belong as a starter in year 2 in the NFL. And so, again, it didn't work out with LSU and that team. If Rattler's the guy here, that's kind of my comp for the LSU fans.
Yeah, that's tough. Andrew Hatch, 40-yard Hail Mary that didn't reach the end zone. I'll never get that out of my head.
I think he's still in Auburn.
That was not great. Great analogy, though, because that was probably the low point of the quarterback carousel at LSU. I'm with you, though.
I saw somebody say this. Do people really like Spencer Rattler, or they just hate Derek Carr? And his strongest attribute was not Derek Carr. That's it.
Right, and I think that's the thing. I think there's more people who don't like Derek Carr. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, it's probably the most anticipated draft that New Orleans has had in a long time. It's going to be an anticipated draft for a lot of teams. It's an interesting draft. I think there's going to be a lot of action in the draft. Probably
nobody's good.
It's going to be very entertaining, whether you're a fan of the team or not. It's going to be interesting. Fletch, you're going to be at the Zurich all weekend or no?
So I did a double dip today. I did Loomis, then I went out for Rory. Tomorrow and Friday, I'm doing just the draft with Sharif Ishak, my colleague here, and our other colleague, Kendall Duncan, will be covering the Zurich. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I'm flipping back to the Zurich.
Nice. I'll be at the Zurich on Sunday. I'll holler at you when I get there. Maybe I'll see you out there.
Dude, yeah, let's hope Rory's coming down 18 in front of a record crowd again.
He'll probably miss another
cannot
putt.
wait. Hey, easy. You got off easy. Fletch, as always.
Let me say this. Look, I love Rory.
Yeah,
okay?
me too.
And I'm glad he won the Masters. But you wanted to talk about a white knuckle experience watching it, because I'm thinking, dude, he's got to win it because he's coming here in 2 weeks. I mean, dude, that was like a 4-footer on that playoff hole, and he didn't exactly hit the middle of the cup.
I know.
I mean, dude, that thing still hit some lip and had to roll in. That wasn't like a 14 or a 24-footer. That was a 4-footer that he should have switched. And it was still a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah, it was. I was watching. I was rooting for him because I did not want to see a collapse again. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he's here. He's going to be in good spirits. Him and Shane Lowry, they're going to be having a good time. I hope they go and repeat and come down 18. I'm looking forward to it. Fletch, you're the man. I appreciate you always taking the time to come on here, bringing the energy like you always do. We appreciate you, dude.
No, anytime. Sorry I cut y'all off.
No.
I talk a lot, so
I love that.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I love
Fletch,
that.
last one. Fletch, real quick. Who's going to be the next pope?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know. Like the white smoke, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So my mom, I was a born and raised Catholic. My mom, if she heard that, would probably be she would not be thrilled. Let me just say that. But I don't know.
Donald Trump.
I can't help you out on matters of Catholicism.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll give you
Trump. He's
we'll
gonna
give you
rule
a pass
both.
on that. Fletch, Appreciate
I'm like the buffet Catholic. Like certain times and certain things,
Yep.
like I can walk by and grab that aspect of it, and then leave the other
Right.
aspects of it from time to time.
I think that's
So,
I think that's the majority of the Catholics, for sure.
yeah.
Fletch,
Sounds about right. Yeah.
you're the man, dude. Appreciate you. Have a great night.
All right, cool.
All right.